There are some questions in faith that a lot of people have, but maybe don't always ask out loud. And today, we're going to dive into one of the biggest ones, one that gets right to the heart of one of Christianity's most personal and maybe most misunderstood practices. And here it is. This is the big question, right? Look, I can pray, I can talk to God anytime I want. So why on earth do I need to go into a little room and tell my deepest secrets to another human being, to a priest? It's a totally fair question, and maybe you've asked it yourself, so let's unpack it. Now, where does a question like that come from? Well, sometimes it's just plain curiosity, but let's be honest, it's usually something deeper. It can be fear. Who wants to be that vulnerable? It can be sheer discomfort, or a lot of the time, it's just a genuine lack of understanding about what this whole thing is even for. So, first things first. Where did this idea of confessing to a priest even come from? Was it something that people just, made up down the line, or does it have roots that go way, way back? To figure that out, we have to go right to the source. Okay, the context here is absolutely everything. This isn't just a friendly suggestion. In the Gospel of John, this is Jesus, after the resurrection, appearing to his closest followers, and he gives them this incredible, direct mission to go out and forgive sins in his name. It's a pretty stunning moment. So what's the point of that? Well, the whole idea is to make something that's invisible, God's mercy, something tangible, something you can actually experience. It's like the message was, I don't want my forgiveness to be just an abstract thought. I want you to feel it, to hear it through another person. And that leads us to the role of the priest. This is such an important distinction. The priest isn't some kind of replacement for God. He's not forgiving sins with his own power, like he's the boss. The teaching is that he's acting as an instrument, almost like a channel. The fancy term is in persona Christi, in the person of Christ. But it just means he's there to make God's forgiveness real and concrete. It's meant to be that human. Okay, but if the priest is just an instrument, why do we need him at all? Why can't we just get that forgiveness silently in our own hearts? Well, to answer that, we have to look at how we're actually built and what we really need to heal. Sure, talking to God in prayer is always a good thing. But we're not just floating minds, are we? We are physical beings, flesh and blood. And our feelings, our guilt, our fears, our wounds, man, they feel very real, very physical. They weigh on us. That's why faith so often uses tangible things. Water in baptism, bread and wine, words spoken out loud. And this is really the core of it all. There is a massive psychological difference between just thinking or saying, God forgive me, into the quiet of your room, and actually hearing the words, you are forgiven. One is you sending a message out, the other is receiving one back. And that's what confession is all about, making that invisible forgiveness something you can hear. Let me tell you a quick story that kind of drives this home. There was a man who, for years, was just crushed by the weight of a secret sin. He prayed about it, sure. He promised God he'd change. But that heavy, awful feeling, it just stayed with him. It was like a rock in his gut. So one day he finally gets up the courage. He walks into a church, goes to confession, and he just starts talking. His voice is trembling, he can barely get the words out, and the whole time he's just waiting for the hammer to fall, waiting for the judgment, the condemnation that he felt he absolutely deserved. But the judgment, it never came. Instead, on the other side of the screen, there was just silence, a quiet presence. The priest just listened, calmly, patiently, letting the whole story come out, without a single interruption. And then, after the man was finished, the priest spoke the words that changed everything for him. I absolve you of your sins. You can begin again. And in that moment, hearing those words spoken out loud, the weight was just gone. The past wasn't erased, but the fear was. For the first time in years, he felt a peace that wasn't just in his head, but one that he heard with his own ears. Now, all this might sound like a really ancient spiritual ritual, but what's fascinating is how closely it lines up with our modern understanding of psychology and the human mind. Let's look at the actual logic of healing here. Modern therapy tells us this all the time, right? When you keep guilt bottled up, it festers. It turns into anxiety, into stress. But speaking it out loud, especially to someone who listens without judgment, with mercy, that is profoundly healing. There's a reason we have the saying, the truth will set you free. And here's the wild part. The argument is that the church understood this basic human need centuries ago, long before we had terms like psychology. It understood that the heart doesn't just heal by wishing it away. It heals when it is heard with mercy. Confession is meant to be that safe space where telling the truth doesn't destroy you. It actually liberates you. So let's bring it all together. What is the real point of confession? It's the polar opposite of what many people fear. It's not about shame. It's about liberation. So let's be crystal clear about what confession is not supposed to be. It is not a tool designed to shame you or make you feel worthless. It's not some method for the church or a priest to control you. And it is definitely not meant to be a place where you just get reminded of all your screw-ups over and over again. So if it's not any of that, what is it? Well, it's meant to be something truly beautiful. It's a way to actually audibly hear that you are forgiven. It's a moment of release for a heart that's been carrying way too much. And maybe most importantly, it's a real, concrete chance to begin again. Fresh start. So, look, if you've ever felt afraid of this sacrament or just confused by it, try to remember this. Its true purpose was never judgment. It was always mercy. It's a reminder that you don't have to carry your burdens all by yourself. And according to this ancient teaching, it's a place where instead of condemnation, you'll find God waiting to give you a new beginning.